There's a big change in how I perceived my art when I realized that we as musicians and creators and artists aren't just representing the world around us, but we actually help create the world in which we live. When I realized that, it completely changed how I viewed my art and the process around it. You gotta think, if Lady Gaga made a song about depression and how she broke through it, right? That would go on to all these different news shows. They would talk about it. They would have other people talk about what she's saying. They would have interviews. And people are listening to it in their car every day, listening to that same affirmation about breaking through depression. And in that way, she's empowering other people and our culture to deal with this issue and break through it. That is the power of music. By sharing your creativity, your art, whatever you're working on, you are shaping the conversation that we are having as a culture. Another part of this is knowing where we came from and knowing our place in history. In knowing what happened in the past, it helps us fully understand the types of trauma that we are going through now, the type of pains that our current society is going through, and where we're going to go in the future. Recently, I've been dealing with my grandmother being close to the end of her life, and that's brought up a lot of family issues for me, a lot of generational things. It sparked this whole thing within myself to evaluate my culture, my place in history, what my grandparents' life was, what my parents' life was, and how that all led to me. It made me realize that we are standing on the shoulder of giants, that we have so much that has moved us to where we are now. That's around the history of who we are as an individual and how that history has shaped us. Also, that has to do with just the information that we have created, the knowledge that we have shared down the ages. Music itself is math and theory, and that's all been shared through the ages to where we are today. And continuing that line of wisdom and knowledge from the past to yourself and understanding it moving to the future will help immensely in your own craft. I see that all the time with musicians not understanding the history of their music, not understanding hip hop, where it came from, how it's impacted so many lives and the history of it, even in the UN and all this story around it as culture. But if you know that, you know the power of it, and you can move that power forward into the future. In all this process around my grandma, I came to realize what type of culture that she was a part of and how it's changed to where I am. And that made me only more interested in where I am going as a creative person, only more excited about the world that I am creating for myself, for my kids, kids, and so on, and knowing that I can shape where this is going, just like my grandparents. I feel blessed that they shaped the world in which allows me to create what I want to create. Now, since our music can shape the future of humanity, that is literally what's at risk here. That is why we need to strive in our own creative paths to create something that we want to see and change culture, change the history of humanity. That's the power that we have. You got to think, if you're making music or art that continues the same kind of commercial need to consume, or music to get drunk and just pick up chicks or whatever it is, then you're not creating the world that you might want to see. But if you create music and art that helps people understand the human experience, helps them understand compassion and what they want in the world, maybe it's living more connected to the land, maybe it's consuming less and being happy with the small, more subtle and important things in life, like love and connection, family and friends and creativity. If we can create art and music and things that push that part of humanity forward, then we can make a brighter and better future. That is what's at stake here. And that's why I'm so excited for this part of my life to be a creative person, changing and shaping the future. By knowing my past, by knowing what I came from, by having gratitude and compassion to what they went through to make it to where I am, and then be able to shape that into the future. Thanks for watching this video on changing the history through creativity. And if you want to, feel free to subscribe to the channel. There'll be much more videos to come, as well as check out the other videos below around my own personal creative process and the things that I've learned along the way. So thank you so much for watching this. Again, subscribe. Also feel free to comment on what you've learned through your own personal history around your creativity and how you feel that we can shape the future.